About 5 years ago, my husband and I and our 3 sons moved into this old house. It's about 125 years old. And while it has some issues, we fell in love with it because it also has character and a soul. And with each inch of pink flocked wallpaper that we stripped and every purple toilet that we replaced, we knew that we were uncovering the history of the house some more, but also erasing it. In the frantic weeks when we were first living there, emptying boxes and eating Chinese takeout, we noticed that our 3 sons were really drawn to the basement. Now, don't worry, this is not a scary story. Our basement is not like those on this old house. It's actually dry and fairly clean and has white walls and so forth. But there is something special about our basement. It has a giant bar made out of whiskey barrels. And throughout the basement, there are ceiling mounts for televisions. And there was a pool table. And there was a red pub door behind which was a bathroom with lots of girly posters that we quickly took down. This was clearly a party space. And there was a door leading to our backyard directly. And there was also a staircase leading up to the kitchen. But the funny thing is that at the top of the kitchen stairs was this giant hatch that covered the stairwell with this elaborate homemade pulley system. It had like a rusty bell at the bottom as the weight and so forth. And we removed it. We didn't quite know why it was there, but it was clear that whoever put it there did it to keep people from coming up from the basement. So a few months after we moved in, it was Thanksgiving, and I was delighted to host my first Thanksgiving. We finally had the space to entertain. And my mother was also happy to not have to cook every holiday meal that year. And so my parents had come up early. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and my mom was in the dining room helping to set the table, and I was in the kitchen stuffing the turkey and slathering it with butter. But we all sort of knew that we had an opportunity with every decision we made that morning to turn these choices into new traditions. And so I was in the kitchen finalizing the meal, and this is the old stove that the previous owners had also left behind. The funny thing is that I had never used both ovens at the same time before. And so I actually didn't know if they worked properly. So I had a pie in one and the turkey in the other, and I was thinking, I should probably check the temperature to make sure that it works. And I was running around the kitchen in my apron looking for a thermometer when all of a sudden the back doorbell rang. And we weren't expecting anybody else at that hour, and we never used the back door, so we couldn't really make out who would be there then and why. And when we opened the door, it was a perfect stranger in a baseball hat holding a bottle of this. This is Metaxa. It's a Greek liqueur. The previous owners had been Greek, and the stranger explained how sorry he was to interrupt our Thanksgiving, and he explained that he had been the grog maker for a group of boys who had gathered every year at this house for many, many years. He said that it was part of a high school football tradition. He probably filled the thermoses with whatever that grog was, and off they went, and then came back and partied some more. I invited him in at that point because I actually knew his story was true. The neighbors had told us, watch out, every year there's this huge line out the back door trying to get into your basement. And I thought, it's that fun, really? So I had forgotten about it. So sure enough, he came in. We invited him into the house. I offered to give him a tour. And we made it as far as the dining room, where I could start to see in his face that, he was seeing how much had actually changed. I offered to take him upstairs to show him around some more, and he said, no, thank you. He had to go. But before I would let him leave, we had lots of questions. I wanted to know more about the previous owners. Please tell me about your friends. What were they like? Where are they now? What do they do? What was it like for them to grow up in this house? And he obliged us, and then I could see he was getting sadder by the moment. And he said it was time for him to leave. So we let him back out the back door. and closed the door behind him. But I want to pause for a moment right there because let's talk about what Thanksgiving really means. We all know the history of Thanksgiving with the Wampanoags and the Pilgrims sharing a feast in celebration of the abundance of the harvest. It wasn't until President Lincoln created Thanksgiving as a national holiday in the middle of the Civil War that we all began to collectively layer our own traditions on this amazing occasion. I know that's certainly true in our family. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. I mean, what is better than sitting around the table with family and friends and giving gratitude for all that you have, especially in years when you have less? And it is a wonderful thing to see traditions remain. In a world of constant change, it is profoundly comforting to know that every year you'll have the same dish on the same china, hopefully with the same people, and it gives you comfort that you've made it through yet another year. It's very meaningful. And so, what happens when traditions begin to die? Well, I have a wish, and that wish is that every time one tradition dies, we replace it meaningfully and purposefully with another one. And I'm hoping that you all can help me do that this year. Anyone have a good metoxa recipe? Thank you very much, and happy Thanksgiving.